Okay, we're up to the chines, gluing the stringers together, as many boat builders call it. Basically, where the plywood meets, the corners along the boat have a piece of wood behind them, we call them a chine, and if you look on the internet, you'll see a lot of boat builders with plywood don't use this. It's a fairly traditional method of building a boat. A lot of them just bring the ply together with glue, lots of glue, and then fiberglass both sides, job done. The reason we do it this way is because it allows you to put those longitudinal members up on all the bulkheads, and eye along there and work your plane to get them perfect, to get that chine line right. Once that chine line's right on the chines here, when the plywood goes on, the outer surface is going to have a nice even line that doesn't need a lot of fairing. Again, I'll come back to my point that this boat's all about using minimum amount of filler, so if we can spend a little bit more work doing the construction to get the construction as quality as we can, then we're not able to do a whole lot of fairing afterwards. So chines are good, they add strength to the boat, longitudinal strength to the boat, and yeah, but they do add a lot more work. I've spent way too much time with my table saw on this exercise. You buy a rough saw and you have to cut it both ways several times, then you've got to put it through the thicknesser, and with small workshop equipment, that's a big job, as opposed to four-sided planers that the professional guys have. You're much better off to get that work done by somebody else. So this is the prototype, and as such, we don't really know what material is going to be ideal until we're making it up as we go along. But you'll have the benefit of my experience, and I'll be able to tell you exactly we'll come up with a cutting list of what wood's required. So so what wood is required is I need 8 lengths at a minimum of 12 metres. What I've got here is 24 pieces at around 5 to 6 metres, so 15 plus metres a length, so I've got plenty to play with. I've done half of them there, and I've got the other half here, and I've scribed along there the 300 mils back from each one. So they're 30 mils wide, 300 back angle gives me a 1:10 ratio, which is more than enough. You get away with the 1:9, but or even less. But 1:10 is a good safety margin. You've got a good bond. So the idea of putting them on one plane like this is when you cut them all at the same plane like that, but when you flip one over, it's a mirror image. So you get you haven't increased the thickness of the timber, and you haven't created a nasty angle that you're going to have to deal with a power plane. So you get it wrong and one will head off in that direction. Well, that's just work you don't need to do, and it's not looking good. So the way this is set up too is that once I've ripped these, so I'll have one scarf at each end, then I'll pick the best 8, the longest, the cleanest, the nicest pieces of timber, and I will put a scarf at the other end. They'll be my central pieces, and then the other pieces either end, I've got some room to play with to cut off any defects or anything that doesn't look quite right in the timber itself, characteristics in the timber that I don't want in my boat, I can take off. So 15 metres, need 12 metres, that gives me 3 metres to play with. But what I've done is I've put the scarf at the good end of all the timber. So you look through the timber, search through the timber if you're selecting it from the timber merchant, find the good bits. You're going to need nice long straight bits with no knots in them. And then once you've got the timber, filter through it, work out where the defects are, put them down the far end. They can be got rid of later. But for now, we want ample to work with. I don't want to be putting 3 scarves in this. 2 scarves is plenty. So so once I've got them cut up, I will lay them out on the floor. I'm going to need 12, 15 metres, so I'll lay them out on the floor and I will glue them together and clamp them like that. Alright, and when they're complete, I end up with my 12 metre long lengths of chine, and I'll be back to show you that later on. Okay, I've got them all cut, and I can see with a few of them straight away, basically the blade of the skill saw hasn't been quite plumb, so it's cut on a bit of an angle. So some of them we're going to have to doctor up So bring it back to where it's supported. I've got a bit of ply there, so it doesn't matter if I can chew into it. I can see straight away that there's a bevel on the cut, so I know that basically that's the low side, that's the high side. I just want to, okay, so I've got to be conscious not to change the angle, but I need to correct this so that both the bits of timber will be in line when I put them together, not one doing that. So. There you go. Perfect. 300 going on. Perfect. Okay, the other thing too, have to notice, was that some of the, where the saw bit, where maybe the timber was a bit gummy, I've got some glazed areas in the blade. So that's not good because glue won't stick to glazed areas or will have trouble absorbing into the timber. You want the timber to be rough and absorbent. So either some 40 grit sandpaper or a sanding wheel. She's good to go. Right, I have a little admission to make here. They all needed a single up with a plane. You're just not going to get them good enough with a skill saw, so you have to plane them. One of these levels that's 300 mils long, so it's handy. Just make sure that it's still 300, and then just obviously check that the bevel's square. Right, so I've got a layer on plastic. I'm about to glue them up. I'll be gluing them. Actually, prior to gluing them, I'll be fitting them and putting a mark on them, so I know exactly where they want to be cramped together. Bit of plastic in between. Okay, and keep going. Right. I just gotta hope that when this is repeated with glue, it doesn't create a big sticky mess. But for now, that looks pretty good. Looks like it'll work. Final scarf. You see I've used the full length of the shed here. We've gone from one end to the other. Every metre has got staggered chines, long lengths of timber that I'll be using as longitudinal members on the Elliott 1150. Okay, so as I'll just show you pulling this apart and show the final stage in making these, but clamp together obviously on the floor all together. More they should break away quite easily as a general rule. Sometimes a good cut will do it, but not in this instance. So little bits of glue will have got down in between places and underneath. And the plastic itself still does adhere to a point, so sometimes it needs a little bit of assistance. Now, in the next video, we'll do the first milestone.